Okay, guys, I have made already a few videos about this book. I honestly think it's very useful and improve my chess understanding. So that's why I propose it again, because I think if you can get it and read it cover to cover. So we are still on the chapter Isolated Pawns. The game I want to show you, it's a World Championship game, and of course it's a top level between Korchnoi, that is white, and Karpov. This is the game number 9 of the World Championship match played in Merano in 1981. Korchnoi begins with c4, e6, knight c3, d5, d4, bishop e7, knight f3, knight f6, bishop g5, h6, bishop h4, castle, and here there is rook c1. Here it says Grandmaster Ullman used this move order so as to meet the Tartakova variation, which start with b6. And here it gives the line, okay? So here it tells us a little about the story, because obviously this was a match, and each one of the two opponents tried to surprise the other, right? So they were using different move order also for that. D takes e4, e3, and it seems Beliavsky played e4. Beliavsky was a top player in the 1980s, maybe 90s. And like always, at a certain point, when they cannot win the World Championship, they start to fade. And sometimes they cannot win the World Championship because they are not World Champions. It's up to the next one that come. Like, for example, Karpov and Korchnoi played few matches, right? But Kasparov was the next one. So up to the moment he wasn't ready to come, all the other were just passing by. Okay, e3, c5, bishop takes e4, c takes d4, e takes d4. And so we have the isolated pawn, and since Karpov will win, I believe this game it's really a great lesson, because if Korchnoi, that is a lifetime top player, wasn't able to win with an isolated pawn, it means a lot. It means a lot. It means this game, it's really something to remember. So, knight c6, castle, and knight h5. Here it says, one of those simple reactions typical of Karpov's play, and implying a deep understanding of a position in the center. Although unwilling to do so, White has no choice but to exchange the dark square bishops, limiting significantly his chances of active play in the middle game. So bishop takes e7, knight takes e7. So this is important because we must remember that the idea of when you are fighting against the IQP is that you must have control of the square in front. And here there is a dubious move by white, which is bishop b3. It seems rook e1 was the right move, or it has been tried, but it doesn't convince. So let's read the comment. He says, this is too tame to satisfy the urgent needs of the position. When we see the whole game and look back at it, we must come to the conclusion that white's initial advantage is gone, and his wisest course is d5. So this is the move, d5, immediately to get rid of it, leading to exchanges and a draw. With the white pieces, one is naturally reluctant to seek a draw at such an early stage of the game, but objective evaluation of a position should prevail over emotions. If white decides to continue fighting, then the test move is certainly not the one which he should pin his hopes. Okay, sorry. And here he says, rook e1 has been tried, but it does not convince me. I'm sure that a realist like Tigran Petrosian would not hesitate to offer a draw. We shall soon see why. So he played this instead of this. So why it's a draw, guys? Because once you exchange the isolated pawn, 2 against 2 and 3 against 3, you have a draw because you cannot create a pass pawn. And that's the point of all this situation. That's why. Instead, up to the moment there are these two, you don't know how the endgame will end, right? So that's the reason it was better to make a draw. So after bishop b3, there is knight f6. As you can see, he wants to control this at all cost. And then there is knight e5, bishop d7, queen e2, and rook c8. And now white plays a move that here is considered a mistake. Why? Because he plays knight e4. He says black has blockaded the isolated pawn, just as in the lines of the queen's gambit accepted, but with one crucial difference. The dark square bishops have been exchanged, a fact which favors black. Further, exchanges are just grist to black's mill. Instead of the natural rook c d1, white himself is looking for exchanges, and the consequences will be all too plain to see. Okay, knight takes e4, queen takes e4, bishop c6, knight takes c6, rook takes c6. And now white plays rook c3. Here it says Korchnoi last move was also criticized, as rook takes c6 was better, suggested as better. But I doubt this very much, because b takes c6 would isolate the d4 pawn for good. Okay. We have known since the 1921 Lasker-Capablanca match what an impossible task the defense of such a pawn and such a position represent. So this is also why we should watch all the games of the World Championships, because they have a history that is the reflection, the evolution of this match. Practically from that match, all the top know what happens in that pawn structure, right? So that's the reason. Let's move on. After rook c3, black played queen d6. And now g3. Here it says there is no meaningful job for the rook on the king side. Rook d8, rook d1, rook b6. So why rook b6 was played? To make possible for black to play queen d7 and rook d6. So let's see, queen e1, rook d7, rook c d3, and rook d6. So as you can see, black is mobilizing every single piece to kill the pawn, right? Queen e4, queen c6. Obviously you don't take, because like just we said, once he takes back with a b pawn, the control of the square is too good. This is only going to lose at a certain point, right? So he played queen f4, knight d5, queen d2, and queen b6. And here there is another move which is dubious, played by Korchnoi, which is bishop takes d5. Here it says played again against principles. As I have emphasized many times, the fewer pieces there are on the board, the lonelier isolated pawns become. In this case, it says that a3 maybe was better. It's not appealing, but what must be done must be done. It is a wrong conviction, refuted many times, that a major piece endgame offers the best saving chances. On the contrary, it is the simplest route to the debacle. So bishop takes d5, rook takes d5, rook b3, queen c6, queen c3, queen d7, and now there is f4, and there is a diagram, okay? In order to prevent e5, white must weaken its castle position, and that is the beginning of the end. Karpov plays with great precision, and although we could criticize some of Korchnoi's following moves, we cannot propose anything substantially better. So, what do you think black did? He continued with b6. Rook b4, b5, a4, b takes a4, rook takes a4. Queen b5. So this is interesting, huh? Okay, sorry guys, I miss a move, my fault. We were in this position, right? So after a4, b takes a4, sorry, it's not directly this, didn't make any sense. It's queen a3, then e5, and then there is rook takes a4. So sorry, my mistake, because I missed a move. And then queen b5, because I couldn't understand why it didn't take on a4, and so that's why, but I missed the move, my fault. So after queen b5 there is rook d2, because probably doesn't want him to go here. And again, guys, I would pause the video and try to find the next move for black. Try to find the next move for black. The next move is e5. This advance was sooner or later unavoidable. The position opens up and the white king remains unprotected. Here practically there are no more comments, it just gives the last move of the game, okay? F takes e5, rook takes e5, queen a1 to protect this. If you take, obviously it takes back. Queen e8, threatening rook e1 in any case. D takes e5, rook takes d2, and rook takes a5, to which follow queen c6, because obviously if you leave it there, there is rook a8 and you have a problem, a little problem, not much. So rook a8, king h7, queen b1, check, g6, queen f1, attacking this and threatening a mate, queen c5, check, king h1, and now there is the final move of this game, that is queen d5, check. And here it says a game of masterful moves and conspicuous errors, but all of them highly instructive. Yeah, I think the mistakes made by Korchnoi are a little strange, if you think, guys, because after all, Korchnoi has played chess all his life, and I think this isolated pawn structure is something which comes up continuously in Grandmaster games, so it doesn't make any sense. But what makes sense is that we have this video, because this game is really interesting in the way that Karpov was able to dismount this isolated queen pawn and win the game. Thank you for watching. Once more, sorry for the mistake there. I skip a move, my fault. I will eventually redo the video if nobody can stand that kind of mistake. Thank you.